black oftentimes.
Me to open this show that I thought you overreacted to a game against a really bad San Antonio Spurs team. But that's okay because that's what he's talking about.
I agree. That was the context around which Kevin Durant's statements were made. People just overinflate all of LeBron James's regular season exploits. Like, okay, I get it. And that's why I give the brother LeBron credit. But so many people, they're so extreme, either in approval of LeBron or, in detriment towards LeBron. And it's like, let's just judge what he does in proper context, leave it at that. But Kevin Durant's like, I don't want to get caught up in his orbit,
That's what Kevin is calling out because he's saying that you're going to over-celebrate the good games and then you're going to discount, if not ignore, the bad games or the flaws, such as the late game, post-game free throw shooting, which it's a fatal flaw on many nights for LeBron James.
And he knows it too. LeBron James knows that his very poor free throw shooting, especially in the clutch, is an Achilles heel.
And to me, it just completely disqualifies him from the GOAT discussion over Michael Jordan.
Well, there are quite a few things that disqualify him from the GOAT discussion. I guess you could put clutch free throw shooting as one of them. But there are quite a few things. I mean, the way that the man came up short against the Dallas Mavericks in 2011 will never be forgotten. I'm sorry. When you come up that small, there's no way that you could ever be the greatest basketball player ever. No.
But not for the media apologists because they are quick to promote LeBron as the greatest player ever. And that is what he's calling toxic because it's hard to be around that when you live with it and you see it up close. And you see that LeBron is getting a pass for all the drama he does create. And I always call him the most interesting man in sports history. But
he's up there.
But he is the drama king, and sometimes he's the drama queen night after night because he will create.
Well, he definitely has a lot of feminine characteristics if that's what Skip Bayless is alluding to. In my view, the most interesting person in the history of sports is Muhammad Ali.
Create situations because he thrives on the drama, but sometimes it wears his teammates out.
Agreed.
Finally, Kyrie said, I just can't take all this anymore.
Yeah, because Kyrie has too much masculine energy. He was raised by his dad. He can't deal with all that extra shit. It's like, if we're going to play, let's play. If we have an issue, let's resolve the issue. Let's get to the point. I don't have time for all this extra shit.
All the cryptic media posts, the passive-aggressive, all the calling out. Was it 2 weeks ago when LeBron said, I almost cracked early this year? And his teammates are like, really? You almost cracked? What about us? Or we're going back 2 years ago when we first.
All LeBron James was telling his teammates is that when the going starts to get tough, I'm going to go for mine. I'm going to go for mine, and you guys are going to get blamed. That's all he was saying.
First started the show, we were at the first Super Bowl in Houston, and he said, we are top heavy. This is Cavaliers. We are top heavy as you know what. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what did the rest of the Cavs think about? It's Kyrie and Kevin and I, and then we don't have enough help.
Have you watched the Cavs?
Okay, all right, but I'm just saying that's a harsh thing to say about your teammates. They're not going to love that.
Did he lie?
I don't.
But and this is another thing. Since Skip Bayless brought up that comment about LeBron James saying that the Cavaliers were quote unquote top heavy as fuck. Well, if you guys are top heavy as fuck, what are you doing to improve those teammates at the bottom? Because supposedly you make all your teammates better, right? So if you're top heavy as fuck and it's starting to wear down on you, that means that you're not doing your job and making your teammates better. Because you're supposed to be the greatest player ever, LeBron James, allegedly.
I don't think that's leadership. I don't think that's.
I agree.
Let
me ask you one thing.
That's a toxic situation.
Let me ask you a question.
I agree. And the proof of it being a toxic situation is that LeBron James decided that he was not going to play as hard as he could play from late December all the way through January until they pulled the trigger on that big trade.
Question. I want to know one thing. You covered this game and you were in Chicago during Michael.
Yeah, Skip. I just need to know one thing because you've been covering basketball since George Mikan back in the 40s and 50s. So I know you saw Jordan. Just let me know one thing about Jordan. How did he shine his head?
Did Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, or Larry Bird have media apologists? Yes or no?
Of course they did, Shannon. You know that already.
Not to this extent. Not that. Yes or no? Did Michael Jordan? So what?
Right, but that's not what the conversation is about. The conversation is about LeBron James and Kevin Durant's assessment of him. You could try to throw in the red herring of Michael Jordan because you love to do that all the time. But the conversation is about LeBron James. Kevin Durant ain't thinking about playing with Michael Jordan. He was supposedly thinking about playing with LeBron James. So we have to stick to the topic at hand.
So what is Kevin Durant talking about?
But not to this extent.
You know what I'm saying, Jenny?
Well, you
I know him, Jenny. I know,
but this is just the truth. This is just the fact that
you are Michael Jordan apologist, and you still are.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Yeah, Skip, I got me so upset right now. I mean, my collar just popped. You know, every time you speak about LeBron, I get so upset, Skip. I need a vacation. I need to go to the gym.
Trust me, there were a lot of people in the media in my age covering Michael who did not like Michael. You know why? Because he was not good to them. And a lot of times media people will like you depending on your accessibility and your willingness to provide them material.
I'll say this. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era. Very rarely did any members of the media try to attack him after he won championships. But before that, he was at the epicenter of a lot of criticism in regards to whether or not he would be able to lead a team to a championship and get over that hump. Because for all intents and purposes, people were accustomed to a certain style of play resulting in championships. A lot of ball movement, a great big man. Your point guard had to be very intelligent. The Bulls defied that total archetype completely. They never had a great point guard. They never had a great big man. Michael Jordan was the first great wing to lead his team to multiple championships without a dominant big man. Now, we could say Isaiah Thomas also led his team to 2 championships in a row before Jordan, but they had such a phenomenal front court. When you talk about Mark Aguirre, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, if you were to combine those players together, they were a dominant big man. But Jordan totally, he changed how people thought about how to win games. Like I stated in another video, the last player to win the scoring championship and the title in the same season was Kareem. And of course, we know he was, if not he was one of the most dominant big men in the history of the NBA. So around 89-90, the media that covered basketball, they would hone in on Jordan. They called him selfish. They called him an egomaniac, a player who was too arrogant to change his approach. And fortunately for him, he had enough understanding of basketball to fall in line with the overall game plan of Tex Winter, Johnny Bach, Phil Jackson, and it resulted in championships. But Michael Jordan, he was placed under a great deal of scrutiny right before he won a championship. Now, from the early 90s onward, they pretty much left him alone other than with the gambling stuff and after his father was killed.
Make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Michael did not do it. LeBron speaks every day after practice, after shoot-around.
So there are no media people that dislike LeBron James. Is that what you're telling me?
Dislike him? I don't dislike him.
No. I'm asking you a simple question.
Game?
Because, no, you told me there were some people in the media that dislike Michael Jordan. I'm asking you, are there any people in the media that dislike LeBron James?
Well, let me say this. The only 2 people in the media who could be described as not liking LeBron James, quote unquote, would be Skip Bayless and probably Rob Parker. Everybody else not only likes LeBron James, they seem to be in love with the man.
I'm going to say no to that.
Skip, stop playing.
Well, give me a name. Give me somebody. I don't know anybody.
Skip, really? First,
you, Skip. Skip, white bread Bayless. You, the whitest man in America. Just look at your face, Skip. Everybody knows you hate Braun. Every time you talk about Braun, your face get red. You sicken me.
First of all, I wouldn't put anybody on blast like that, but you and I both know there's no such thing as all of every. So everybody in the media does not like LeBron James.
I just don't, Shannon, I'm serious about this. I don't know anybody. I've not run across, this has been something I have studied carefully for many years. Can't wait to talk a little later in the show to Chris Broussard about it because he's been in the middle of it his whole career. I don't know anybody who dislikes LeBron personally or his game.
What? Nobody dislikes?
Well, let's say this, Skip Bayless. Right now, LeBron James is pretty much on his career honeymoon. He's at the point now where he's Teflon. There are very few people in the media who are willing to say anything bad about LeBron James because he's been able to win 3 championships. He, quote unquote, brought a championship to Cleveland. And he's gone out of his way to publicize his, quote unquote, social awareness, i.e. wokeness, by not only speaking about racial issues, at least to the depth that he's able to speak about them, but also building, or at least allegedly being affiliated with building that school, the I Promise school out there in Akron. So his team has really helped him build up a wall around himself where people feel embarrassed to castigate LeBron James unless you can see through his bullshit.
Just like Michael Jordan personally. They did. He wouldn't talk to them. That's different.
And there was all sorts of layers to this. He wouldn't take social stands. He wouldn't take race stands. And there are a lot of reporters who did not love that about him. They didn't respect that.
And there are some reporters that don't like LeBron James because he takes too big of a stand.
Hey, I was there.
Right, but Shannon, what does that have to do with what Kevin Durant said about LeBron James? That's his point. Once again, read Kevin Durant's statement. He said a lot of it's fluff and it has nothing to do with basketball. As soon as Skip Bayless asks you the question about LeBron James, you're bringing up all these different issues about what he says off the court. All you're doing is proving Kevin Durant's point. That's why people do not want to come play with your boy, because all these LeBron James followers in the media, it's like they want you to get down on one knee and genuflect in front of LeBron James and worship him as a god or a messiah figure. It's pathetic, man.
You can't. And again, Michael didn't like me. I'll disqualify myself. But I can't.
Yeah, I do have to say that. You know, that's one of the reasons why I love Michael so much. He liked me. You know, I felt like the prettiest bitch at the ball. You know, he walked by and gave me an interview all the time. I was like, wow.
I can't tell you. There are several times, once during the playoffs, 1998, his last Bulls run. I'm standing there with a couple of reporters, and practice ends before, some mid-game against Charlotte, in maybe the second round of the playoffs, and he walked by us, and he looked at me, and he said, I ain't talking to you, and he called us that word, those magic words. Yes. I can't, I don't even want to say that one was the first one.
Yeah, that's what he said. He walked by all of us. We were all on the wall with our tape recorders waiting for Michael himself to walk by. You know, the Messiah himself. And we were waiting to interview him, and he walked by and he said, I'm not talking to you motherfuckers today. And I said, even me? And he said, okay, I'll talk to you, bitch. And I said, wow, yes!
Hold on.
I ain't talking to you today.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Yeah. But who reported that Michael Jordan walked by and said that? Now, what would happen if LeBron James walked by me? Hold on.
Because he wouldn't.
Well, Shannon Sharp, that was a different era. Back then, men would talk like men without fear of repercussion. And also remember, there were far fewer female reporters back then. People were way less sensitive. Today, you couldn't do that. There's no way that Michael Jordan could walk past a group of reporters and say, I'm not talking to you motherfuckers today. There's no way in the world that would go on. Because the men today act like women, and the women today are super duper sensitive because they know that people are going to pay attention to them. And now men are utilizing female tactics of getting attention, which is emoting over every damn thing. So no, Jordan couldn't do that today.
Let me finish my point, Jim. So if LeBron James walked by a media pool and said, I ain't talking to none of you mofos, is that going to get reported? A simple yes or a simple no?
Come on, Skip Bayless. Me, you know damn well, if LeBron James said something like that, it'd be on the cover of the Washington Post, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, probably would. But
why not?
Has he ever done that? No.
No, that's my point.
Wait a second. Is LeBron an angel off the court?
I don't know why Skip Bayless always lets Shannon Sharp distract him from what the topic is. Shannon's go-to is always to make the conversation about Michael Jordan whenever somebody says anything that is in the least bit critical of LeBron James. You got to make Shannon stick to the topic. Kevin Durant said what he said about LeBron James, not Michael Jordan. Stop trying to use Michael Jordan to distract people from anyone saying the truth about your man.
Is he just like the greatest role model ever? No, he's not. Does any of that ever get reported? No, it does not.
In other words, Skip Bayless is saying that he knows a lot about LeBron James off the court, and it does not get reported. There's a lot of dirt on LeBron James off the court, but nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. Like these wokety-woke, pro-blackety-black dudes, they're so silly. They come in the comments, oh, Michael Jordan's married to a non-black woman. And right, but at least Michael Jordan is dealing with his non-black woman in public. Is LeBron James doing that? Every 2 weeks, there's a new blonde-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian woman who reports that LeBron James tried to hit her up in her DMs. Every 2 weeks, never fails.
I got reported on Mike.
Finally, it took the National Enquirer, but a whole lot got reported on Mike. post-career.
Both.
Yeah.
Well, look, we know Mike gets down. All right. There's a million and one stories on Michael Jordan.
So all this happened post-career,
Okay.
or was some of this going on during? Exactly, Skip. You know, I know, we know.
Okay.
You know, I know, we know. I mean, shit, I'm still mad about what Michael Jordan did to me in Cancun. When I had 4 bitches on my arm and this nigga walked by and next thing I know, I got nobody. Man took all my bitches, Skip. I'll never forgive him for that shit. It's Cancun, 1997.
Okay. We do know. But the point is that Kevin is saying LeBron does get a lot of passes because the media does love him. And he's very lovable because he comes across as the best role model in sports,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And he's so accessible. And I also think that they see him as vulnerable occasionally because he does have an occasional bad game and people have sympathy for
They
him.
love him, but he's also the most scrutinized, criticized player in
I
all.
don't know about criticizing.
Stop it.
Well, LeBron James was heavily criticized from about 2010 to 2014. I'll give you that, Shannon. Especially that first year. 2010, well, the first 2 years. 2010 and 2012, he was probably the most heavily criticized athlete of the last how many years? Maybe since Muhammad Ali, or, you know, I'll say since Mike Tyson. Since Mike Tyson. But after 2012, it heavily diminished when he won his first championship. And when he went back to Cleveland, it's been a love affair with the media since he's gone back to Cleveland.
Skip.
Where do you see criticism? Maybe this seat, but beyond this seat,
Well,
where?
I
don't know.
First of all, Kevin Durant didn't. Let me ask you a question.
No, he asked you a question, Shannon Sharp. Where do you see criticism other than from Skip Bayless? See, every time Skip Bayless asked him those type of questions, Shannon Sharp tried to change. She tried to change the subject.
Question, Skip Bayless. Let's just say in the Eastern Conference Finals, LeBron James had a team down 3-1, and that team comes back. LeBron James would have had to move out of the country. Well, that's what.
Well, let me ask you a question, Shannon Sharp. When LeBron James went to the NBA Finals in 2011, and he allowed J.J. Barea to lock him down, like J.J. Barea was Dennis Rodman, did LeBron James have to move out of the country? The answer is no.
Kevin Durant he had a 73-9 team down.
Yet.
Right. And Kevin Durant has been heavily criticized since then. He was criticized for giving up a 3-1 lead. He was criticized for thereafter signing with the team. They came back from down 3-1 against him.
Kevin is saying that just as the media apologists will defend, they will also attack. So it's hard to be the co-star or the second star because if that had happened to LeBron, you know what you would have done. Kevin Love can't play a lick.
Absolutely. That's all that he would have done.
Or Kyrie, where were you tonight? Right?
Absolutely. And the new whipping boy on the Lakers is Brandon Ingram. That's the guy who they give all the blame to whenever the Lakers lose.
Right. Well, if LeBron James had that missed 18, 19 shots, yeah, LeBron James, it's your fault. Absolutely. And you got 3 cracks at the end of this, and he couldn't do it?
This is why Jimmy...
Well, look, we all know that Kevin Durant came up short in those 2016 playoffs against Golden State down the stretch. There's no doubt about that. But to be quite frank with you, that was the byproduct of trying to play street ball against a team that, number one, plays great defense, number two, plays in a real offensive system. And I think that was the last straw for KD. When he saw that every time he got the basketball, he had to go one-on-one or one-on-two against a great defensive team. And then his co-star, Russell Westbrook, could not make a basket and made terrible decisions. Like, Russell, he's just like that dude. And I likened him unto this before. Russell Westbrook is like that fine-ass chick with a fat ass and big titties, always trying to argue with you. And every time y'all fall out, this broad coming to your door with pumps on and a trench coat and nothing else. That's Westbrook. Like, he brings so much to the table and so little to the table at the same time.
Jimmy Butler, that number 2 up in Toronto, and especially Paul George. That's why those 3, they want no part of this because they realize they're in harm's way. If the team doesn't win, the media is going to come after them, not after LeBron.
Agreed.
Jimmy Butler had a chance to lead the team. He went head-to-head with LeBron James, and they had a 2-1 lead. And what happened, Skip? LeBron James blew the doors off him. Paul George.
I'm not saying they're better players than LeBron. They just...
Right, but come on, Shannon. What was this? You going back to 2015, brother? Really?
just don't want any part of LeBron.
Well, then,
Exactly.
well, then what happened with Paul George? Paul George was in OKC last year. He scored 2 points in a game 5 that they got the doors blown off him. Ain't nobody criticizing him.
He got a pat.
That's the point. That's Kevin Durant's point, Shannon Sharp, is that if you're the associate player or you're the second banana, quote unquote, on another team or any other team other than the Lakers, you avoid blame. But when you play with LeBron James and you're the second banana and your team comes up short, you get all the blame. That's the point.
Exactly.
Because it's Oklahoma City.
Exactly.
Right.
And Russ Westbrook, see, they don't, and nobody expects Russ every year he laces them up to be in the finals, be it the Western or the Eastern Conference. Nope.
Of course not, because Russell Westbrook is LeBron James mini-me. That's what he is. Russell Westbrook is LeBron James if he had about 1/10 of the basketball IQ, was not as good a shooter, was about 3 inches shorter, and about 30, 35, maybe 40 pounds lighter. That's what he is. He plays the same exact style of a LeBron James. He's a wannabe Oscar Robertson. LeBron James is actually a slightly better version, a slightly bigger and better version of Oscar Robertson.
Nobody expects that from Russ. But when you play, it's like playing with Tom Brady. The expectation is you're going to be in the AFC Championship game. And Skip, if things don't go right, you do it all the time for Tom. See, when Tom's going good, oh, he's great. When he loses, Belichick's defense, Gronk is an old shell of himself.
Now, that's your best point, Shannon Sharp, but you're still not refuting KD's point. What you're doing is you're bringing out Skip Bayless's hypocrisy, because he actually is an apologist for Tom Brady, much in the same way that you are for LeBron James. But the point is for you to refute what Kevin Durant is saying. The debate is not about Tom Brady. It's not about Michael Jordan. It's not about Skip Bayless. It's about what Kevin Durant said about your man LeBron James. And so far, you have not been able to disprove it. All you tried to do is show that the same phenomenon has existed for other great athletes. Once again, you're not refuting it. And the real issue is, do those other athletes create toxic environments where other great players do not want to play with them? It was not really relevant in the time with Jordan because free agency was not, it was not as fervent back then. The players were not as impassioned to leave their team and go search out greener pastures back then. And when it comes to the NFL, the New England Patriots, they pretty much have a system where not only do they not seek after other great players to play with Tom, they really don't even want them. They're good with who they have because they're not looking for other big egos. So it's difficult, in my view, for you to bring up other great athletes and try to utilize them as a smokescreen for LeBron when it's not the same situation, it's not equivalent. So once again, you're failing to answer the question, Mr. Shannon Sharp.
Himself on Piano Man, Julian F. You see what it's?
I see it. We're not talking about Brady right now. I gotta stop you guys.
Thank you, Jenny. Even Jenny notices it. She said, we're not talking about Brady right now, Shannon. You have to get to the point.
Well, wait a second, because you just brought that up. One guy is 5 out of 8 in Super Bowls, and the other guy's 3 and 6 in the NBA Finals. So when the money has been on the table, as LeBron says, money's on the table, I'll take number 12 and 5.
Let me ask you a question. If Kyle Korver hits that shot and Adam Vinatieri misses those field goals, are we having a different discussion?
Maybe.
Why are we having this discussion at all when it's about Kevin Durant?
We're going to get back to the
field goals that you're supposed to make them.
Oh, so Kyle Korver ain't supposed to make that 3-point shot. The third or fourth breakthrough.
Had he ever played in the NBA Finals before? No.
Had Adam Vinatieri ever kicked the game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl before?
Shannon, see, you're doing it.
They're the first time for everybody.
Guys, we're going back to LeBron later. Did Ezekiel Elliott deserve a fine?
Absolutely. I agree with you, Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless stated that Shannon Sharp is embodying exactly what Kevin Durant is saying because they can't stop themselves, Skip Bayless. It's called idolatry, a.k.a. being a fan or a fanboy. It's a demon that's on Shannon Sharp and Nick Wright and Max Kellerman and these guys, where they're going to do whatever they can to protect the object of their admiration, their adoration. It is what it is. It's only going to come back to bite their kind LeBron during the free agency time. But who knows? We'll see. Maybe Kevin Durant is fooling us all. But I doubt it. And if he is, that man deserves an Oscar award. So peace.